In the last 5 years, more than 1,000 lives have been cut short in a series of intermittent raids on communities in northwest Nigeria as a result of armed banditry.
In the last few weeks, the geopolitical zone witnessed a spike in armed banditry, leaving many of its residents in fear of attacks and abduction. Perhaps the most affected state seems to be Kaduna, where bandits have been on the rampage in the southern part.
Special forces continue to battle bandits whose affiliation to insurgents in the northeast have been identified. These engagements have recorded casualties on both sides, and fleeing assailants often pick on communities which the military describe as soft targets. Former Assistant Director, State Security Service and the CEO of Zoomland Security, Dennis Amakri, is here in the studio to bring us some insight into all of this. Good morning, Dennis. Nice to see you.
Good morning.
Great.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Now, some analysts have said we are winning battles and losing some, but we're not winning the war yet. On the side of the military, they have assured Nigerians that they are winning the war and they are on the process of keeping all of these things behind. From your analysis, what progress are we making, or how stagnant are we in fighting security and insecurity?
I think in the country right now, we are, like the military said, they are winning the battles because the war is still there. All right, and we as a people have looked up to the military or the police to take care of us. One thing we are lacking right now is citizenry participation, whereby we also have to support the military, the efforts of the military in winning the war. Most of these bandits or terrorists live within people, and they're either scared of them if they report who they are, and that brings us a problem of trust, because the citizens don't trust either the military or the police to divulge information about them, because if you do, they come around and get you. So I think what we have to do is to bring, all these building blocks of trying to see if we can build some kind of trust among
What would it take
communities.
to achieve that? Because as it stands, from what you're saying, a whole lot has to be done, because that gap has to be breached to really get the desired result.
Yes, the gap needs to be breached. And then, of course, it takes both sides. You see that people sometimes want to resort to self-help, forming all kinds of vigilante groups and stuff like that. I will encourage that, because you just don't sit back and wait for the police or the military to come to you. And at the same time, I also, on the military side or the police side, I think they should start building those blocks, of trust among the people, and then the government itself will now go ahead and address those fundamental issues, because there are fundamental issues that create this situation of insecurity.
What are these fundamental issues, sorry, Mike?
You have poverty, you have, national security has three major blocks, this thing. And those three things are economic security, energy security, and environmental security. These ones cannot be provided by the citizenry. It's the government that provides this. So what is the government doing about this? Because you send out the military, the police is out there, the people are shouting, then you have to come in and, of course, smoothing out those areas for everybody to survive.
Now, but how do we reconcile the issue of the poverty you talked about? Certainly, all the theories point to the fact that when people are poor and they don't have access to livelihoods, they become ready-made materials to be used.
Yeah.
But the point there is the act of banditry or terrorism and all of those is actually an expensive venture where it is not cheap. It requires logistics, it requires communication, it requires fueling, it requires a lot of things, even food, feeding, and all of that. So keeping this for the past few years is quite expensive.
Yes.
So how do we reconcile the fact that, okay, it's because there's poverty, that is why these people are involved in this?
You know,
when there's so much money behind it.
Yes, there's a lot of money behind it, I can tell you that. And the war situation, you know, war economy is a very booming economy. And then, of course, people have to realize, because the other day I was looking at a video, there are about 40 bikes, motorbikes, of Boko Haram terrorists, each carrying somebody. And they lined up, you know, getting ready to go and attack somewhere. What passed through my mind was, where do they have the fuel to run this?
Good.
All right? So these people are having fuel constantly. They are in their hillocks that they use in raiding all kinds of places. They have fuel, logistics, food, and then, of course, money.
And even the weapons, exactly.
And the weapons, you know. So we cannot blind our eyes to this particular situation where either there are some financiers bankrolling this, or there are other foreign countries, you know, intervening and then helping those people against the people of Nigeria. And then, of course, our leaders have to sit back and really, really have a hard think about it, because this thing has lasted for how many years, and we're not having a concrete solution.
Now, there is no doubt that there has been efforts on the part of government to address these issues, especially with the several deployment of security personnel on various operations, Operation Pof Adad, Diran Mikia, Shorandaji, all of them. But then we still see mixed results at the end of the day. What are the gaps that are not being bridged that you think is not helping us or allowing us arrive at the desired result?
I'm looking at it from outside, you know, because people in the field have their own operational orders that they are following. But looking at it outside, you can see that there are gaps. And the gaps are caused by, you know, unconcerted effort. You know, everybody is doing their own thing. The police is doing their own, army is doing their own, Air Force is doing their own. And this should supposed to be a synergized operation whereby they work together, they plan together, and then, of course, they route out these people together.
Now, talk to us basically. There has been the talk of interference in security, because when we look at the professionalism or the capacity of the Nigerian security agent, using one as a symbol to represent the others, a lot of them are highly trained, especially seeing how much is invested into what they do and what they're exposed to when they go for international assignments. They come back with all the medals and so on. When they come back, the story is not the same. Are there interferences that, you know, prevent security agencies from functioning the way they are supposed to?
I think the structure is not well defined, whereby you have the military involved in internal security, the police, which is supposed to be the main responsible agency, is also struggling on their own. And it has manifested itself in so many different areas. Taraba, remember the one that the army was arrested by the police and the army went and released him. And then, of course, we have the Ghana case right now.
In Benue.
Yeah, and then, of course, these interferences, whereby these people should be arrested and interrogated, and we know what is going on, is being cut short. And when it's cut short, you know, the problem persists.
Well, who is supposed to define that structure? Who is supposed to define that synergy, that if it is military or if it is the SSS or if it is the police or civil defense, you're supposed to work together in this direction or in that direction? Who defines it?
Well, I will put it in the doorsteps of the National Security Advisor, because he's like the manager of security in the country, you know, and his office serves as a clearinghouse, you know, for all intelligence, internal security, and of course the SSS, even the NIA, you know, to come to him, even in the defense area, to give a picture of the security situation in the country. And instead of, and that can be achieved by creating a fusion center where all these agencies are represented in one room. And then, of course, exchange ideas and exchange information towards national security.
All right.
But if they are working separately, then we're not going anywhere.
Now let's look at solutions. Because there has been, you would recall, sometime last year, some of the governors of the Northwest had a peace deal agreement with some of these bandits, for instance, and that didn't last for long. And some have said perhaps dialogue is not the way to go. For you, what is the way to go in addressing this? Dialogue or the hard way?
Well, I am not for amnesty for bandits. I don't believe in it. You know, you don't dialogue with bandits or even, well, terrorists have more objective, but bandits are thieves, criminals, okay? And then you don't want to talk with those ones. If government don't address this very, very well and quickly, then we are going to lose the initiative and give it to the states to now start coming up with all kinds of self-help projects like Amotekun or whatever, neighborhood watches and vigilantes. So the solutions are there for the government to bring everybody together and then, of course, decide what they want to do. Because I think what we lack here is direction. If the direction and the focus of what we want to do, unlike people who say the vision, if we don't have a vision of what we want to achieve, then we run in circles.
All right, so we'll leave the conversation here now. Dennis and Markley, thank you for speaking with us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.